Tomato has joined me for another night of video making. I've lit a vanilla bourbon candle from Target. It is my favorite candle, the only candle that I really kind of like at all. And today I'm going to talk to you about how I was writing 3,000 words in a day or more for about 15 days. Hey Tyne! So I was trying to write my novel in 15 days, which sounds like an awful idea, but I know you've written novels much quicker than that. I only wrote about 50,000 words in 15 days, with my average being around 3,000 words a day. There were some days where I only wrote 1,500 and some days where I wrote 5,000. I wanted to tell you some of the tricks that I did to write so quickly, write so much, and that really came down to I knew what my plot was, I had it all listed out, and I knew scene by scene in my head what was going to happen next, which was really helpful for me. As I started getting nearer to the end of the book, I had less of the specifics figured out, and those were the days when it really was only 2,000 words or 1,700. I don't think I slipped below 1,776, the normal NaNoWriMo word count. But those were counteracted by the days when I really got in the flow and I got just a couple of hours of writing just to write 5,000 words. But then when I was stuck in a scene, I also had a Pinterest board made up. So I had a whole section for characters so that if I needed to introduce a new character, I kind of had the idea of what they looked like, or if I needed to write a character's physical description. Then I had just a general board. I'll link it down below. I also have a couple of other Pinterest boards for my other projects. Those really help me for when I'm not sure what I'm going to be writing next. And then I also had 2 different things of music open at a time, not both playing of course, but one of them was more upbeat music, and it was usually music without words, so movie soundtracks was one, and then the other was more calm. I think it's lo-fi jazz is one of the YouTube channels. It was kind of either one or the other, either super upbeat or really calm. That way I could switch between them depending on what kind of scene I was writing so that it didn't impact it too much. But that really helped me keep in the flow because then, I had my big chunky headphones on, so I could just zone out. I could just zone out and write and write and write and write and write and write. I am super duper pumped. Today has been a good day for one simple reason, and that is that I have written a lot. I have 3,780 words written in less than 24 hours, actually less than 12 hours. So I'm hoping to write 5,000 words today. That would be amazing. But I've been listening to a lot of movie soundtracks while I've been writing, and so I'm kind of pumped, and I made myself tasty food. Some pasta that I'm gonna bring to work tomorrow and eat right now. I also prepared a lot of my food in advance, so I had all of my breakfasts prepared and a lot of lunches set up before I started writing so much, and that really helped because I know if I miss meals, my writing really suffers, and then I get really distracted, and then I don't meet my word count, and then I get upset that I didn't meet my word count, and then I don't write very much. So I didn't put pressure on each individual day having 3,000 words done, but that my average came out to 3,000 words. So I made an Excel spreadsheet, and then I had another thing where I had a graph, and I'll leave a link in the description. I think I can do this, where you can see how I set it up, or I'll leave a link to something explaining how I set it up. There'll be a way, I'll show you exactly what I did. Another thing that really helped me out was having a lot of books about writing around, so I'm only a third of the way into this one. But I think I read 4 books while I was writing the 3,000 words a day, and they were all writing books, and whenever I'd get stuck, I'd just flip open to whatever page I was on and start reading that kind of thing, and I'd read until I would hit a point where I was motivated to write again, then I'd jump back over to my Word document, pick up there. There was also a couple of YouTube videos that I was watching, like motivational videos and writing videos. I also have a whole Pinterest board about like what it feels like to be a writer and writer's blockbuster and like things like that. And so it was just all about setting myself up for success ahead of time and making sure I keep that steam going and be really excited about my project. But as it got further and further into the 30 days, my word count started slipping, and I realized that I had written probably 1,500 words, which isn't a ton, that I just hated. And the more I wrote, the more I hated it, and the more I wrote, I realized that my characters weren't very strong. And so I haven't written very much over the past couple of days, like the last 2 days in particular, after 15 days were over, because I was trying to figure out what to do. Like, should I just write these new characters from here on out with the rest of the story, or should I go back and edit the first part? And I think what I've decided is that I'm just going to finish the rest of the story the way it should be, because I know that the whole thing is going to go through edits anyway. I always edit like 10 or 12 drafts worth of edits because I just can't calm down and assume it's good enough. The whole first part might be rewritten anyway once I have the ending. Maybe I'll get to the ending, I'll hit the big climax, and I'll be like, wait a second, the main character's motivation is completely different. I didn't realize it until just now. Then I have to go back and edit the thing that I already spent a long time editing. So now my idea is just keep writing it from there on out, assuming that that is the way it is throughout, and then sometimes I'll either have a notebook where I have the page number where I made the change, or I'll make a comment in Google Docs or whatever it may be. And I've read a lot of books in my time about like how to complete NaNoWriMo, and they have prompts for each day of the 30 days. So if you can find one of those prompt things, I would definitely recommend going along with that. I think one of the most important things for my success was that I incorporated it into my habit. Every day I'd wake up, I'd eat a breakfast burrito, like one of my prepared ones, and there was a specific chair that I sat in when I knew I was going to be writing. I had everything all set up. I had all of the tabs open in a separate window from everything else, and I just open it fully up and start writing and start listening to music until I hit that breaking point, and I knew that I had to write for at least an hour. And maybe I'm checking my words constantly, seeing if I hit that limit, instead of sitting down at my computer and thinking, I have to write 3,000 words today, because that seems impossible. Like, I've done it several times and it still seems freaking impossible. Instead, I was thinking, like, this is an odd number. So say, like, on some random day, it was like 32,322 words that I had written the previous, like, I thought, like, can I get this to a round number? Can I write this so that it's 32,500 or whatever my number was? And then when I got there, it's like, okay, I've already written this many words. Can I make it so that I've written 500 words today? And then when I get to 500 words, I'm like, well, it's an uneven number again. I guess I have to write a little bit more. And I'd kind of do this with myself until I had gotten past 1,776 words, till I had completed a section, completed a chapter. It all depends on how you're breaking things up. If you're breaking it up by word count, just trying to get in a few more words. Because what I found was, when I paused and I was like, oh, I really don't want to write anymore, it was because I was stuck and I didn't know what was going to happen next. So even just telling myself, can you write another sentence, helped out so much, because then I wasn't stuck trying to figure out what to come next when I no longer had any steam when I came back the next day. So just writing that one sentence made it so that I know what the rest of the scene is going to be, and then I could keep writing just from writing the one sentence. So know what your plot more or less is, or have a theme for it. Have a picture board, a Pinterest board, cutouts from magazines, so you have something inspirational to look at. I love National Geographics for that. Have some inspiring books to read, inspiring YouTube posts, inspiring things like that. Have music already prepared that you won't want to change while you're watching it. Make it so that even if you don't think you have much time to write, you'll sit down and just write a sentence, because that one sentence can change the rest of the scene and it can motivate you to write. You can also try making a designated space just for writing. So one specific chair that whenever you sit in it, you know you're gonna write. Have as much food prepared ahead of time as you can possibly do. You can also try chunking out a section of time and saying, okay, I have 30 minutes right now, 30 minutes for lunch, 30 minutes on my commute, whatever it is. Tell yourself that you are not allowed to do anything else except for write for that 30 minutes. And if you just sit there staring at the blank screen, that's okay. You're thinking about your writing, so it's okay to just sit there and stare at it. What's important is that you chunked out the time. So some days I was lacking my word count and I knew that I needed to be somewhere, and it takes an hour for me to get anywhere in Chicago right now. And so the whole time I was on the train, I wouldn't listen to music, I wouldn't have a book, I wouldn't do anything that I usually do on the train. I just held my phone and I just wrote. And I couldn't check my word count, it was too difficult, so I just wrote. And I told myself that I wasn't allowed to go on any other apps. I moved them all to a different section, and I just wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And sometimes I would just sit there and stare at it, but at least I was trying to make progress. Other people, having writing buddies really works. If you need a good software to graph it, like just so you can see what your average is every day and stuff, I'll leave the link to the one I use in the description. You might also consider, most works that I've done have a reference point, so another story that's really inspiring me at that moment, and I might have a character from it, I might have like a plot point from it. You know, there's no new stories, you're always remixing them. So I would have that open in another tab so that when I was really not feeling it, I could like watch an episode of it, or just like, usually I wouldn't even get completely through the episode. I would watch it with the mindset of, what is the plot doing? What are the characters doing? What am I noticing now that I'm watching this the second or third or fourth time through? And then as soon as I was like, oh, this was their approach to that, or oh, this is why the character isn't motivated, I'd pause it and I'd jump back over and I'd start writing again. And this worked really well for me because I was following more of like an anime school type setup, but I was watching Assassination Classroom and My Hero Academy. But what happened was that in the last couple of days, like the last 3 days, I started getting really addicted to My Hero Academia because I hadn't watched it before. So that's why I recommend something that you have seen before, because then it got to like on the 15th day, the day I was supposed to have it done, I only had like 3,000 words left till I hit 5,000 words, and I knew I could do that, but I kept getting distracted by wanting to watch this anime, and it became very dangerous. So be careful with that tip. And then make sure you take time to plot or just think about the next scene. Like, even if you're not a plotter, just make sure you have time to think about what's coming next. So for me, that meant when I lay down in bed at night, I'm thinking about my book. Not that I'm not usually anyway. I'm usually always thinking about my book and what comes next, but so you know what the next like scene is going to be and the scene after that, and kind of know what the flow is. That's really important, taking the time for that. You also want to make sure that you're getting exercise and leaving the house every day. So like, you might think like, oh, leaving the house, I'm gonna lose out on so many words. No, you're not. You're not. You're going to be going out and you're still going to be thinking about your writing. And so when you come back, you'll be recharged. Because if you sit in front of your computer all day, your butt's gonna get sore, your brain's gonna get dumb, and then you're not gonna have any motivation to work on it the next day because you're gonna be burnt out. Just like that. I hope that this helped you. I hope that you'll be able to write more, even if it's not 3,000 words. Like, just set your goal wherever it needs to be for you. If you are used to like not writing at all, or you barely write 500 words in a day, maybe don't set your goal for 3,000, or maybe do. You know, challenge yourself, see what happens, see how many words you can write in 15 days like I did. And I wish you the best of luck, and I'll talk to you later, Tyne. Bye-bye.